first off, you've been doing this for quite some time now, so I would like to hear from you, being the founder and longtime member, how this all got started, how the Veer Union came to be.
How the union came. Well, if I said it in a nutshell, I mean, as a kid, music has always been my passion. I always hoped that I could make a career out of it. And I never knew that it was a career until one day I said, "Man, I've been doing this a long time, and this is all I do. So I guess it is my career now." Certainly, certainly not rich, but I've certainly been doing it a long time, and I know that I'm very grateful to be able to do it. Now that said, I started off as a drummer. That was my first instrument, and it was bands like Led Zeppelin and then the Seattle scene, like Soundgarden and Alice in Chains and bands like that. Kind of, they were kind of the whole thing for me, growing up, and I was just like, I just love this. I just love the raw emotion of it, and um, I listened to a lot of different types of music, but rock and metal was always kind of the thing. I remember listening to like R&B and Pantera at the same time. Like, I was
Yeah.
just like, if there was raw emotion to it, then I was into it. So, and then I kind of got my first record deal as a drummer. I moved to LA, and then I realized just how gross the industry can be, and I worked hard times. I met really bad people to me, and a lot of tough things happened. And I said the next project that I do, I'm going to veer away from this, and veer away from anybody that wants to do it just to get rich quick. Because I want to do it because I love doing it, you know, and unify with a bunch of people that have the same mindset as me that are doing it for the love of it, and hence the Veer Union was born.
I'm from LA originally, so I get it. I know how things can be out there, and uh, even longer, I lived in Las Vegas, and it's also just if you don't have connections and you don't know people, you ain't going anywhere. You're not going to. It can kill your passion pretty quickly if you're not careful. And if anything relating to entertainment in general, if you're not in it for the right reasons, you'll never you'll never make it because it won't happen. So it's easy to understand that.
Yeah, it'll just eat you up and spit you out. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Moving on, um, what had you done before the Veer Union musically?
I'd worked with in a small, a bunch of indie bands that I can't even remember the names of, but I know that there was a band that from years ago that was called 40 Foot Echo, and I was the drummer for that band, and we went out with Hollywood Records, I think it was, and that was the very beginning of um, kind of really understanding the industry and meeting some good and bad people. And But yeah, so essentially, I was in that band, and that kind of some of that process was so gross that I just ended up quitting the band and moving back to Vancouver, and then I started my own band, and that was kind of really the beginning of the Veer Union. I did a bunch of demos, but didn't really have a band, and then I signed a couple of record deals and worked with a bunch of people that were in it for the money. And then I said, okay, I'm done. I just got to start over. And a few years later, next thing you know, I started over, and I took all the songs that I'd written over the years, and um, I presented them to a couple of labels, and then we got signed to Universal in like 2008. And then that was another scenario for me where Universal wanted to put out a song at that time, or first single, and it was Over Me, which is a song that I always felt like people were gonna like, but it didn't. It didn't have the grit and the kind of at that time, I guess you would call it new metal sound, but Seasons did, and I fought and I fought and I fought for us to release Seasons, and they finally agreed. And we had our management. We finally agreed, and Seasons was a big hit. And next thing you know, we were on the rise. But then the label stepped in and said, "Okay, now you got to let us handle next because we know what we're doing." And they said they wanted to release Youth Yesterday, and I said, "Don't do it. That is the worst song you could release. It's a follow-up single. It's not work. It's our job." And they did, and it didn't fly, and then we got dropped. So then I had to rebuild yet again, and it just keeps going on. So I do the ringer, but the one thing that's never changed is my passion for it. I wake up every day, and I'm grateful that I'm still doing it. You know that there's still an audience out there that's still interested in hearing what we have to do.
For sure. I mean, you're going on what, album 9, 10? Not counting all the demos and rarity and
Somebody asked me that the other day.
stuff.
Yeah, no. I think it's album number 10. I mean, it really depends on what you count, as an official album, but I think it's like number 10.
Yeah, that's crazy. Uh, I mean,
Yeah.
you've put out more albums than Led Zeppelin. How's that feel?
Wow, that's a very cool way of looking at it. Thank you for that. That's awesome.
You've been a band longer. You've put out more music. You've lasted longer than some of the greats. And
Uh,
I'm sure that I know you don't think about it when it's happening and stuff like that, but it's stuff like
that's
that. You put it in perspective. It's like, oh wow, that's a thing.
absolutely. No, 100%. No, you definitely you hit the nail on the head there. So that's yeah, I never thought about it to think about for sure.
So when did you? But before you got signed, when did you think you were making some headway? Like things were feeling right.
Um, I guess probably the first instance was I won a radio competition in our local scene here, and it was at the time it was called Vancouver Seeds, and it was always just a big deal here, and it's sad because it doesn't exist anymore. The whole scene kind of just disappeared, even for the new indie rock bands that are up and coming. But at that time, it was the thing. If you won Vancouver Seeds, you're kind of on your way. And I will say Vancouver and the radio station here, CFox, they had a lot to do with that. And, we were kind of like, it was really kind of coming up. We had lineups down the street for our shows. We weren't even signed. And, there was just kind of an energy, like people were like, this band is going to go somewhere. And so that was kind of the beginning of all of it for us.
Badass. Now,
Yeah.
uh, so you've got an album coming out here in a few weeks. Tell me about it. Tell me about the process, what went into it, how you felt lyrically, everything.
To begin with, I've always been kind of into the European sound, I guess you could say, when it comes to my approach to writing and producing. And and I always said to the guys in the band, I said, I'm never signing another record deal unless it's with a European label. And literally, I feel like I had those words come out of my mouth, and next thing you know, we got offered a deal from a European label, and I'm like, maybe this is something we're supposed to do.
Mhm.
And so that was the first kind of thought going into it. I'm like, well, I really want this record to be heavier than we've ever done, and I want it to be uh, super atmospheric, just as we always do and have always done. Um, as far as um, lyrically, it's hits very close to home. I recently got engaged, or I should say, before I actually wrote the album, I got engaged, and the ups and downs of a relationship that's really serious. When you really care about it, you fight for it, and a lot of those fights, it's funny because me and my fiance, we don't really fight anymore. We very like, that this is kind of the beginning of really getting to know somebody, and realizing that you have to kind of it is a partnership, and you have to kind of give way to one another. Um, all of those struggles are on this album. Like Caught in the Crossfire was probably the biggest fight we ever had, and after we finished that fight, I went and I wrote that song almost immediately after. Um, And then a song like "Sunk Your Teeth In," it was the same thing. It was very much about my fiance and trying to navigate through relationships. And then there's I will say there's another song called "Meet Your Maker." Um, I'm trying to. I think there's a show called Bad Surgeon on Netflix.
Yeah, I've heard of
I
it.
remember watching. Yeah, it really hit me hard just how terrible some human beings can be, and that was really that was really the nucleus of that song. I pretty much I watched that show. I felt sick to my stomach, um, and I sat down and started writing that song. And I just all I could think is some people just need to face their fear and meet their maker right at the beginning and just be like, it's time to you know what I mean. Let's just leave it right there. I don't want to make it too dark, but that song meant a lot to me because it just really, some human beings can just do horrible things, and
True.
so that's what that song was about for me. But very personal record, as you can tell just by those couple of things I said.
Well, the best music will always have the most emotion.
Amen. Yeah.
Um, vocally, what have been some of your biggest influences?
I would definitely say Maynard from Tool and A Perfect Circle, and well, and Pucifer, and but definitely Maynard for sure. Um, I would say that there's a lot of R&B that I listened to growing up too. Like so funny. I'd say like D'Angelo and like stuff that's not rock at all.
Hmm.
But I listened to so many different influences of stuff, but it all came from the same place. Like if you started Elsewise, you'd start to hear a little bit of country in there. Like there's like if you just strip it all away and just listen to the person's vocal approach, you can start to understand where that person, there's so many in.
Again, I assume you're around my age. I'm 39, so uh, growing up in the 90s, everything was awesome musically,
Yeah.
and not so much the case now. But back then, it was if you didn't, especially when you were young, like adults already had their mindset, but with us, like everything was coming from all ages or all around, and um, everything was awesome. And having MTV and VH1 and just everything that was on the radio and top 40, it was everything. And if you weren't influenced by that, especially if you were, not that we all knew it at 7 or 8, but if you were going to be a musician, it was hard not to be influenced because it was all there. All the ingredients were there.
But back in the day, I find, there's pros and cons of what was going on back in the day. But I will say one thing that was great in that period of time is uh, back in the day, if you had interest from a major record label, it's because you had a buzz because you were good at what you were doing.
Hmm.
And then the number one thing that you would have to do back in the day is you would have to showcase. So a record label would have to come see you play live. And if you sucked live, you don't get signed. That was just like that was the case of like 90% or 90 to 95% of these artists. Now it's just a completely different story. Now it's kind of like, well, how big are you on TikTok?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you can sing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It just matters how popular you are.
Yep.
And so now that we live in this day and age, the whole entire game has changed, and now the market is flooded with a lot of people that have very very little talent.
Hmm.
And don't get me wrong, there's lots of bands out there that have tons of talent still. But I'm just saying the market is definitely flooded with a lot of talentless people, unfortunately, and that it waters down the supply line. And so now we just have a bunch of people screaming at the rooftop, all kind of talentless people, getting their lyrics off of Chat GPT. It's a sad reality, but it is what it is. There's not much you can do about it.
No, this is what it is now. So it's just kind of, and with the whole,
Yeah.
the AI thing, and a lot of older artists have been getting their streaming hacked basically, and it's like a band that's been defunct for 25 years, and oh, they got a new song, and then it's not even them at all, and uh, that's been a weird trend that's been happening the last couple of years, and but even not that, it'll be something else. It presents as a new artist, and it's a fully vocals, everything. It's all there. It's a full song with guitar solos, and it's written, and then it's AI, and it's like, how? Like, how is this not even a real person?
That's now. Oh, I know. And what's here to listen to, and AI, which ones aren't. And the one thing that I can say, it's just the same AI. Just kind of it's there, and there's no heart in it. Don't get me wrong. There I've heard some stuff where I'm like, I can't believe that's AI.
Yeah,
Not usually in rock. I've heard it in other genres where I'm like, that's actually kind of impressive.
yeah.
It's sadly impressive. And, so yeah, it's a sad state of affairs. But again, I'm not going to sit here and uh, cry over it. At the end of the day, it's here, and it just means that we've got to dig in harder and you know um, and make sure we don't sound like those AI bands in the future for sure. So but it's tough because the AI is copying what's happening right now. So you almost have to kind of get ahead of it so that
Yeah.
so it's not learning from what you're doing. So it's going to be a tough battle in the future, but we'll see what happens. It's always been a battle. It's this whole digital world has been a battle. I remember in 2012 when it was all about LimeWire. We released our album, and all of a sudden, like 3 days before it was about to come out, it came out on YouTube, and the whole entire album came out, and I was just like, that's it. So it's over. We're like, nobody's going to buy it because at that time it was all about downloads.
Mhm.
I'm like, no one's going to download the record. People are going to get it off of LimeWire, or now it's on YouTube, and pretty much. So that was that, and then streaming came in, and then so and now streaming got cut exponentially, and it's just like the fact that I'm still here blows my mind every day because it just keeps evolving, changing.
I think that's the thing though with art in general. It's no matter how hard they, whoever they may be, they try to break it down and cut it off. Somehow it continues thriving and fighting harder, and but it comes down to what art is, and again, it's emotion, and the more you
Yeah,
hold someone like you down and piss you off more, you're just going to come back harder and better and stronger and louder.
agreed, agreed, 100%, man. I totally agree. So yeah, yeah, it's true.
I I have been to Toronto twice. I haven't been to Vancouver. Um, but I'm going to ask you, since you have traveled a bit and done some touring and whatnot,
hmm
where are the best tacos?
Where are the best tacos? Man. I would definitely say Texas, the closest to or San Diego as well. The closer you get to Mexico, it seems like the better the tacos are. I'm just gonna not say that to say to sound racist, but it's just the truth. I mean, my drummer's from Mexico, so I'm certainly not saying that as
Right.
to be racist, but it's true. The more authentic they are, the better they are, and so I would definitely say the border states are definitely they're the ones with the best tacos in my experience so far.
It's true. It's a fact.
Okay. Okay. Good,
No,
good. I don't get canceled for
no,
being,
absolutely
oh
not.
man, that
It's
guy's
true.
so racist.
The truth is the truth, man. Um,
Yeah.
Now on that side of things, if I was to come to Vancouver, what would you recommend Um, Food wise, historically, culturally, like if I came there to check it out for a couple days, well, what would you recommend?
Okay, so that's an easy one. I would recommend that you definitely don't have tacos here,
Hmm.
because we have some of the worst Mexican food I've ever had in my entire life. So I'd recommend don't have tacos. But what I would recommend is sushi. The way it's funny, like probably because we're so close to the water, we have the best sushi. Like I've gone to Texas a couple times and got sushi there, and to get okay sushi there, it's like $150 a plate.
Hmm.
Here, you go down to like the hole in the wall, and you're getting the best, freshest, and most amazing sushi for like 10 or $15.
Hmm.
So it's cheaper to get amazing sushi in Vancouver than it is to go to McDonald's. So that's what I would recommend.
On it.
If you like sushi, that is.
I absolutely, I adore sushi.
Yeah.
Sushi freak here. So
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah.
I,
Nice.
and
Awesome.
some of the best sushi I've had was in Seattle. So I don't see Vancouver being that much different. Um,
Agreed. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
so to all the people that have been with you before you made it, while you made it, all the way up to now, what do you say to them?
I'd say that I'm very, very, very proud of this new album, Reinvention, coming out February 20th. Go pick it up, but this is just the beginning because what's coming next is going to be even better than that.
I believe you too.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
I believe you. Um, what are the big plans for this year? So the album's going to drop, and then
We've been talking about doing some touring, but we haven't toured since 2022, and there's talk about us going back out, but I'll be honest, the last we did, again, every tour we've done, we've lost our tour vehicle. It's like it's either died on the tour, or it's died just after we got home. Luckily, on the last tour, it died just after we got home, and I mean literally just after. We pulled into our last show, our hometown show, and the generator died. And then after the generator dying, we pulled into our parking spot, turned over the engine, and it was seized. It was like it was it. That was it. We had to get towed from there. So grateful that we made it home because sometimes it gets really expensive to figure out how to get the bus home because you're not allowed to leave it in the middle of nowhere. So we might have to do a fundraiser to get a new tour vehicle potentially. But if we do, and people support us on that fundraiser, I would say that there'll be some touring. And then there's also talk about us potentially going over to Europe as well. So um, that's what we're going to do. We also yesterday marked the 10-year anniversary of our album Decade One, which is so funny because it was like it's called Decade One because it was songs from a 10, which means that that's 20 years. So, but I think we're going to probably do uh, a 10-year anniversary edition of that album as well, and working on that and to release before the end of the year.
awesome. All right, sir. I want to I want to thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure to chat with you finally.
Thanks for having me.
And if you do
Yeah, man.
make it
Yeah,
out
thanks for
here
having
on
me
the
again.
road, I wanna see you guys live finally because I haven't. And I look forward to hearing the new album. It's sitting in
That'd
my
be awesome.
inbox, so I'm gonna check that out.
Awesome. Awesome. I appreciate that, and thanks for having me on the show.
Sure, man. Appreciate you. Thank you.